Let's take you now to that briefing. The CAF President Patrice Motsepe is currently briefing on the tournament, the AFCON tournament. Let's listen in.
88 universities, they've got 88 remaining students 40 are from different parts of the world. Remaining 40 are from different parts of the world. I landed at 7 o'clock and I landed at 7 o'clock and I had to rush. We had an ex meeting and that we had an ex that.
All right, so let's see if that particular sound can stabilize, and then we will take you there as we listen to what the Confederation of African Football President Patrice Motsepe has to say. He's addressing the media in Rabat at the moment. That's, of course, on the AFCON tournament, which starts tomorrow in Morocco. Of course, the tournament itself growing in stature under his leadership, with increased prize money as well as global viewership. In fact, world-class infrastructure too that he has. A lot in stake for this particular tournament. Bafana Bafana set to face Angola on Monday, the 22nd of December, in their first game of the tournament. Of course, that would be the second day of the actual tournament itself as it kicks off tomorrow, which is the 21st of December. All right, we'll take you back there as soon as we can have a clearer audio for you.
The world, we've been recognized over many years, but we've made significant improvements in football on the continent, and the quality of football that is being played on the continent. We've got 190 countries all over the world that will be watching the AFCON live. And we're very proud of what Morocco did in Qatar. Enormous pride. For the first time, an African nation qualified for the semi-finals, and we are confident that, of course, our focus now is on the most exciting competition on the continent, and partly why Matthias and Gianni are always here is because, and with us, is because we believe that an African nation will indeed be champions of the world, and we're very proud that next year when we go to America, Canada, and Mexico, the objective is we were in the semi-finals now. The next step from the semi-finals is the finals. But as I said, we'll talk more about that after January 18. We took a very important decision today, and I need to brief you on those decisions. Let me start with the easy one. We've increased the prize money from $7 million to $10 million. So the nation that wins, the country that wins, will get $10 million. We increased it. Initially, it was less than 5, and we took it to 7. So if you win, you'll get $10 million, and there's a clear objective forward. We will continue to increase the prize money for the most important competition in Africa. We've also taken decisions to significantly increase the Champions League and the Confederations Cup, but we're not going to announce them today. I wanted to announce them, but I have to listen to the smart people that they said, please, they're not playing anyway until after. So we will announce the significant increase in the prize money of the Champions League that we took today, and the significant increase in the prize money of the Confederations Cup that we also took today. We'll announce them after January 18. One of the most important decisions that we took today, the president of the Egyptian Football Federation, at the end of the meeting, stood up, very emotional and very excited. He said, President Motsepe, I just want to tell you, the decision we took today, which I'll tell you about, in my 20 years of being involved in African football, this is the most important decision. We've never in the history that Hani Abarida, the president of of the Egyptian Football Federation. And of course, he's excited. Like all of the other nations who are here, everyone is excited that they're going to win. Every one of the 24, say, President Idris said in the meeting, the EXCO meeting, I'm going back to Côte d'Ivoire with the Champions League, with the AFCON Cup. I'm here to defend it. And Senghor said they want to take it back to Senegal. So this is the excitement. But the issue is that nowadays there are no small nations. But let me tell you this very important decision, because after the president of Egypt said, Sani Abarida said, this is the most important decision in the history of African football, and he said he can comment because he's been in football and in EXCO for the last 20 years. The president of Sudan said, I've been part of EXCO since 2010. I've been part of football, and this decision is important than any other. The revolution. Let me tell you what the decision is. We've had lots of discussions to restructure, reposition our competitions, and we're talking particularly about the competitions of the African nations. And also, we've had very good discussions. You will remember in Addis Ababa, I announced this $1 billion over 8 years plan that we have for African football, and to make sure that every nation in Africa will get $1 million. You remember when I became president, they used to get 200,000, and then I doubled it to 400,000, and the objective is to make sure that every single one of the African nations get $1 million, and a significant amount of money of the $1 billion plan that we've announced over the last 8 years, over a period of 8 years that we announced in Addis Ababa. We've been having discussions, and the interest has been significant. And whereas I was keen to close the tender soon, there was a huge amount of interest expressed, and we had to follow, of course, the legal process. And we had to reopen. I was given the authority at the last meeting, and we had another meeting today, to reopen the two tenders. Let me repeat. The money that will be going to African football, a significant amount of that is for youth development. It's for young boys, young girls, academies. It's to make sure that we contribute to club football in every one of the 50 nations becoming globally competitive. For the first time, we gave 13 million. So every one of the 120 clubs, football clubs that participated in the league and in the Confederation Cup, each got to help them with the transport. But the 1 million is part of making sure that the CAF African are world class. And we employ the smartest and the best in the CAF office to ensure that we really have the smartest and the brightest, the smartest young women. So to reopen, in fact, we took a decision today to reopen the AFCON 2028. It was we had it for AFCON 2029, and part of the discussions was to change on 28. And before I give more information, is to also emphasize that we have a duty to the African players that are playing overseas, and we want to make sure that in all our competitions that we are, of course, our primary duty is to African football and to the 1.5 billion people on the continent, but we also have a duty to these players in Africa who are playing in some of the best football clubs in the world and in Europe. And we want to make sure that the global fixtures, the global calendar, and this is where Matthias and Gianni have really done excellent work. that there's more synchronization, and the global calendar allows the best African players every year to be in Africa during the window as part of this new competition, the African Nations League. So the African Nations League will result in every year. What is new is that every year in Africa, there's going to be a competition every year where the best African players who play in Europe and worldwide will be with us on the continent. It will significantly improve and increase the quality of our competitions. And as I said, we are launching a new competition called the African Nations League, which will take place starting September, October, and the finals will take place in November. We've divided Africa into 4 zones or 4 regions, as you may say. The northern zone or the northern region, which will consist of 6 nations, 6 member associations. The eastern region, 16 member associations, 16 nations. Western region will consist of 16 nations as well. And the Southern African, Central and Southern African will consist of 16 countries as well. But what is significant is in this competition every year, because it's going to take place during the window, during the FIFA window, you're going to have the top African players will be released to participate in this competition. What it means is there'll be more commercial attraction, more money will go into this competition, more sponsors, more partners, and this competition will be in partnership with FIFA, because FIFA's presence and partnership attracts the biggest companies, not just in the continent, world, but we're doing well on that. But we want some of the biggest companies from all over the world, very good operations on the continent, and want to be part of African football. So the next AFCON, our focus now is on this AFCON. But just by way of information, in 2027, we'll be going to Tanzania, Kenya, and Uganda. The AFCON after that, as part of this restructuring of the global fixtures, of the global football calendar, will be in 2028. So we've opened a tender for all of those countries that had put in a bid for 2029. We said it's going to be in 2028, because in 2029, after the FIFA Club World Cup in America, Canada, and Mexico, we will have the first African Nations League, as I said, where the best African players from all over the continent and from all over the world and from Europe will participate, and we will decide where the final is going to be held. But you're going to have 54 nations, 54 member associations participating in the African Nations League in the different regions. And then in November, there's going to be one country. And this country is where the winner, the champions of each of those regions will meet, either in West Africa or East Africa or in North Africa. And as I said, more competition, more resources, better infrastructure. And this will contribute to one of the objectives we've always had, the development of stadiums, football infrastructure, world-class facilities for football to take place in each of the 54 countries in Africa. So the next AFCON, as I said, after 2027 will be in 2028. As part of this arrangement, because what's going to happen now is you'll have the equivalent of an AFCON every year. You'll have the best African players in the world participating and playing in African football at the highest level on the continent every year. We, in discussions with all our stakeholders and taking into account the global fixtures, the AFCON now will now take place once every 4 years. because historically the AFCON was the prime focus where we could get resources to fund African football. In terms of this new dispensation, we will be getting resources every year. We will have, as I said, remember that the CHAN had initially had about 6 nations, and I increased it to 18. This competition will result in 20 nations, the African Nations League. You will have the 16 in yours, and I'm looking mainly in, as I said, the 16 is West Africa, East Africa, and Southern and Central Africa, and of course, there'll be 6 nations. But it is unlikely that the first African nation final will take place in North Africa, because we've got a lot of competitions. Africa has to decide, and we will look at the bids. But remember, part of what we will be focusing on is Morocco 2030 will be hosting the world on behalf of the continent. So the significant new development is new resources, additional resources, more financing for the African Nations League, for AFCON, for African football. And what we're excited about is we've opened the tenders today, and the partnership with FIFA. And Matthias has been an integral part, and so has Gianni, to look at these fixtures. I don't want to be involved in discussion as I had to with Europe. Alexander is my brother. Nasser is my brother. I've got African players playing in North America. I've got African players playing, and we also have a duty. I'm told Sunderland, for example, there's about 5 or 6 of their top players who are African players who will not participate in the competitions in their club, because of course all of us have an emotional bond to our continent, and the same applies to players from all continents in the world. So we've got the most exciting new structure for African football, which will contribute to sustainable financial independence and financial self-support for the African continent for many, many years. Partly why we were so excited is because, you know, whoever's going to be the new president after I'm not president anymore, and whoever's going to be part of the new EXCO, all of us have of being part of this new legacy, this revolution in African football. And the new leaders in EXCO, the new president in CAF, who will continue on this exciting legacy that all of us have built. So it's a significant development, and we are excited that we are announcing it in Morocco, in a country that has really made a huge contribution to the development and growth of football, as well as what excites me is whenever I'm in a country where the head of state and the government loves football, supports football, works together with the football leadership, this is something that, it's a culture that we are trying to build in every one of the 54 nations. We've said that for us, football is what we are passionate about and what we love, but we've also believed that for us in African football, football is an important tool, an important instrument that brings our people together, that unites our people from different ethnic groups, different racial backgrounds, and different cultures. And tomorrow it's a celebration. It's of African football. It's a celebration of the best of Africa and field of play, showing our people in the world that we are world class. And recognition of the over those who are to them, and I'm enormous.
All right, unfortunately, that is very poor audio coming through there from Rabat. That is the Confederation of African Football President Patrice Motsepe speaking there to the media in Rabat. Of course, making some interesting announcements there, including, of course, saying that from 2028, AFCON will take place every 4 years, and that the trade-off is a new African Nations League, which takes place every year and sits within the FIFA window. Also saying that prize money for this year's tournament has been increased from $7 million to $10 million. As indicated, he is briefing the media in Rabat ahead of the AFCON tournament, which starts tomorrow in Morocco. Of course, the tournament kicks off tomorrow, and Bafana Bafana is set to play Angola on Monday. That's the 22nd of December in their first game, of course, of the tournament. He has taken the opportunity, and that, of course, is the CAF President Patrice Motsepe, to speak about forward-looking and development issues within the affected, countries in Africa. He's taken the time to also speak about future AFCON tournaments, the upcoming FIFA Soccer World Cup, in which 9 African countries have qualified, with 7, of course, of those 9 that have qualified playing in this year's AFCON. The tournament will serve, as many people have indicated, as a crucial testing ground ahead of that next year's FIFA Soccer World Cup, a showpiece that's taking place in the USA, Canada and Mexico.